If you want to buy the FX3 and you're on the fence and you're still not quite sure whether or not you should make that purchase, well then I'm going to share with you my thoughts on what it's been like to use the Sony FX3 for the last year. And we are rolling. The wife and I are on vacation right now at Blowing Rock up in the mountains, Blue Ridge Parkway, Smoky Mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous up here. All right, so we're going to talk about the Sony FX3. We will talk about camera design, image and video quality, autofocus and stabilization, user interface and controls, battery life and storage, and finally price and value. Starting off with camera design. So of course the Sony FX3 is basically the exact same camera as the A7S III. However, it does have a different camera design. And what's the difference between the cameras? Well, the difference between the cameras is that the Sony FX3 is just a little bit more easier to hold in the hands. And I think it's weather sealed. However, I have filmed with this camera in the rain and some pretty cold, humid, and very hot circumstances. All of the above, all weather conditions, and it's done really well. It hasn't broke yet. Oh, and the fun fact is, just a few weeks in after I bought this camera, I ended up dropping it while my 50mm lens was attached to it, and it just got a little nick in it, but it was still working perfectly fine. It's very reliable. If you like to get down and dirty with your cameras, then you can trust that this camera will definitely stand the test of time. Moving on to image and video quality. One of my favorite features about the Sony FX3 is its ability to perform really well in low light conditions. I have my camera set to dual native ISO as a quick set feature with the ISO button. That means anytime I'm switching from a light to a dark scenario really quick, which you kind of do a lot when you're filming weddings. And when you're doing documentary filmmaking, this is also very helpful because you never know when you're going to be filming in someone's house that's really dark or out in the open where it's really bright. So if you like to travel a lot and you do a lot of run and gun shooting, or you're just starting your video production company, if you shoot weddings, if it's just a one-man band kind of show, then I think the Sony FX3 would be a great choice for you. So we are grouping autofocus and stabilization together because those are pretty popular. It focuses fast and it holds focus really, really well. And you can even set the sensitivity of how it rack focuses. There is this rare circumstance where you are already focused on a subject and you want to refocus because maybe they shifted back or they shifted forward. I find when you hold the button down slightly, like a half press to focus, it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do it. And it's kind of strange. And maybe that's just me coming from a Canon system and maybe I'm just doing something wrong. But apart from that, the focus is pretty solid. The stabilization is remarkable. They did this in body and you can hear it when you shake the camera, which I don't recommend. They have two different variations. They have steady shot and then steady shot active. And that's the one I keep it on. You do get a little bit of a crop when you use the steady shot active. However, it does keep your footage stable. It's very reliable and you don't have to worry about it making any funny looking noise or any funny looking shift kind of weird wobbly stuff in your image. Moving on to moving on to user interface and controls. Now, I'm pretty confident that most people know Sony cameras are very complex and they're not very user-friendly when you open up the menu. And it did take about 30 minutes for me to get comfortable where everything is at, but I quickly just called up my Sony friend. His name's Tiberius Green, and he kind of walked me through it really quick. And he told me about these quick set menus. They're like favorite menus where you can set your favorite features. So I did. I found all my favorite features that I would use the most and I put them in this favorite menu so I wouldn't have to go through all these 100 different settings just to find the one I'm looking for. So now I have quick access in my menu to all the settings that I will use and ever probably will use. That's not a bad thing because I would rather have my camera be more complex and be able to be more customizable and provide me more features and more benefits than not have them at all. So this is a pretty positive point. Now let's talk about the controls really quick. There are a ton of custom buttons on this camera and you can probably spend hours just trying to figure out where everything is and how to program these and which feature you should put in these custom features. I would actually recommend shooting with the camera for a couple weeks and then figure out what you were using the most. You can customize it quite a bit and it's a pretty positive thing because, you know, there's a lot of them. And moving on, Battery life and storage. The Sony FX3 has great battery life. I actually just basically use one battery. If I'm shooting a wedding, let's start there. If I'm shooting a wedding, then the battery life does typically last me all the way up until the dances, and then I swap it out and I'm good to go. So I go through basically 1.5 batteries. It's absolutely amazing. What I love about this, if you already have like a laptop or a MacBook, or you're using USB-C, you can charge the battery with your Apple charger, so you don't have to bring an additional charger, but it does come with one that you can use, and it charges it pretty fast. The batteries are small and compact, so that's a big win for me. The FX3 does have several storage options. Two, actually. You can use CF Express Type A, or you can use SD cards. I am actually using just the most expensive SD cards that I could possibly find, and those work really well. I am actually considering switching over to the Angelbird 1TB CF Express Type A cards with their CF Express Type A card reader. It's about $500 to upgrade, and that's not really a lot of money for a video production company to spend. As a person who's like a one-man band or a hobby, if you're just starting out, that's probably out of your budget. You actually don't need that. You don't need that much power coming out of your SD cards and your CF Express cards. For me, I need some write-offs, so it would make sense. All right, now we are moving into the final category. So, of course, budget and price of cameras is subjective because some people make more money than the others. The camera is about $4,000. That could be expensive to you or it could be cheap to you. Doesn't really matter, but it's $4,000. For me, that was worth it. I did buy two lenses actually. The lens I'm using the most is the 50mm 1.2 G Master, and that is about $1,900. Now, the second lens I did buy, I bought for speaking stuff like this, and really it's only for YouTube videos. That's it. And it's a 20mm 1.8 G. It's the Sony lens. That's what I'm using here with a ND filter on it. And I really only use it for this. So I don't necessarily recommend it, but you know, if you're into that, go for it. And we have reached the end of this video. Those are my thoughts on using the Sony FX3 for about a year now. I think you should buy the camera if you are on the fence, if you are a professional shooting weddings or something like that. If you're coming from a cheaper camera and you want to upgrade, this is the perfect option. You probably won't need to upgrade for a very long time, and they constantly improve the firmware, so you're constantly getting new features. That's what I love about them. They constantly innovate. So if you want to buy this camera, I suggest it. I'll leave a link down in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. And I don't know, maybe leave a comment of what you think about the Sony FX3 if you are using it already. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.